right, for the recording, welcome back. We are, who's saying that? Uh-oh, I am hearing you. I need to stop that. I think I fixed it. Okay, so welcome back. We are ACI Course 9, Class 2, June 12th, 2025. Let's gather our minds here as we usually do. Please bring your attention to your breath until you hear from me again. Now bring to mind that being who for you is a manifestation of ultimate love, ultimate compassion, ultimate wisdom, and see them there with you. They are gazing at you with their unconditional love for you, smiling at you with their holy great compassion, their wisdom radiating from them, that beautiful golden glow encompassing you in its light. And then we hear them say, bring to mind someone you know who's hurting in some way. Feel how much you would like to be able to help them. Recognize that the worldly ways we try to help fall short. How wonderful it will be when we can also help them in some deep and ultimate way, a way through which they will go on to stop their distress forever. Deep down, we know this is possible. Learning about emptiness and karma, we glimpse how it's possible. And so I invite you to grow that wish into a longing. And that longing into an intention And with that intention strong, turn your mind back to that precious holy being. We know that they know what we need to know, what we need to learn yet, what we need to do yet to become one who can help this other in this deep and ultimate way. And so we ask them, please, please teach us that. And they are so happy that we've asked. Of course, they agree. Our gratitude arises. We want to offer them something exquisite. And so we think of the perfect world they are teaching us how to create. We imagine we can hold it in our hands, and we offer it to them, following it with our promise to practice what they teach us, using our refuge prayer to make our promise. Here is the great earth, filled with fragrant incense and covered with a blanket of flowers. The great mountain, 4 lands, wearing the jewel of the sun and the moon. In my mind, I make them the paradise of a Buddha and offer it all to you. By this deed, may every living being experience the pure world. Idam Guru Ratnam Mandalakam Niryatayami. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this class and the rest, may we reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this class and the rest, may we reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this class and the rest, may all beings reach their total awakening for the benefit of every single other. And may it happen soon. Last class, we learned about the text that will be the text that forms the basis of the one that we're going to be studying from. And we learned the topic of that text. In Sanskrit, the topic is Vinaya. In Tibetan, it's Dulwa. And the meaning of the Tibetan word is to tame the wild horse of our minds and sense organs, to bring them under control, to make them useful tools. What is it that needs taming about our minds? It's those 7 wrong deeds and their friends. Remember, the first 7 of the 10 non-virtues and all the things that those states of mind like impel us to do because of them. Then we learn about the relationship between Buddhist discipline, Lord Buddha and his teachings, if you recall, he said that that subject matter of ethical behavior constitutes the highest of his teachings. And it's like, wait, but that's a beginning level. That's a beginning level teaching. Vinaya is lesser capacity. But he's saying, well, no, it's the highest. Curious. And he says for two reasons. One is that those teachings represent the entire instructions that he ever gave. So all the rest actually is explanations of the Vinaya. And it's like, what? No, what? Then, secondly, he said that illuminating these rules of ethical behavior, meaning, right, bringing them forth in our awareness, turning on the light in a dark room of the power of ethical behavior, that acts as a substitute of Lord Buddha himself. It's like you turn on the lamp of Vinaya and who you're going to see there in front of you is Shakyamuni Buddha giving teachings. It's kind of a cool, is that a metaphor or analogy? I'm not sure which, but the power of Vinaya. Third, Jetson Kappa explained or clarified, he explained the role of the extraordinary training of an ethical life in the development of the other two extraordinary trainings, remember? And he was especially talking to his students, his people, to address that situation where people had the karmic goodness to like skip grades and get right into Mahayana teachings, right into Diamond Way teachings, apparently without the foundational stuff, and that their karmic goodness was being used up faster than it was being remade, which is the opposite of what Diamond Way is supposed to do. And as a result, their Diamond Way practices weren't working. And so they were giving it up, which is worse. It's worse to have Diamond Way and give it up than to never meet it at all in this lifetime. And so he was like, that's happening because people don't get this connection between ethical life, meditative concentration, and the wisdom that's necessary to make this transformation from ordinary suffering me to a being made of love, compassion, and wisdom. So he explained that to reach that wisdom, especially at the level of its direct perception, requires deep meditation. And deep meditation would have to be a good ripening, right? A pleasant ripening. Whether the meditation or is pleasant or not is not what we're talking about. It's the ability to get to a deep level of meditation, deep enough to see emptiness directly. That will be a ripening of extraordinary goodness, which means kindness. So we need to learn how to be kind, just to be able to meditate deeply enough to be able to cultivate the direct perception of emptiness. And if you don't understand those three and how they're related, then you wouldn't know that if you're having trouble with your meditative concentration, really, yes, you work harder on your meditative concentration, but more effective would be work harder on our ethics. Oh, if we can't understand those teachings on emptiness, really, you don't need more teachings. You need more kindness. So he was pointing out that there's a reason Buddha taught 3 extraordinary trainings, because they are all related. And the foundation of the other 2 is this ethical life being avoiding harming others at its very basic level, in gross ways and more subtle ways. And as we avoid harming others, we are choosing more kind behaviors. And so we end up helping others as well, which is the second level of ethical training. The Vinaya is focusing on the avoiding harming. Okay. All right. Then we learn there's a early Sanskrit commentary that became the basis for the Tibetan monastic training of discipline. It was called Vinaya Sutra, in Tibetan Do Wei Do, but it's not a sutra in the sense of the words of the Buddha. It is a short book written by that master of discipline, Gunaprabha, about 500 AD in India. And then the commentaries on that book point out that for our Vinaya practice to work, to discipline our mind, we need to have our discipline practice motivation directed, so that our discipline practice will take us where we want to go. Right? Not that it won't take us to something more pleasant than we otherwise would have experienced, but we want to direct it more specifically. So our Vinaya practice needs to be motivated out of renunciation of our state of habitually perpetuating the samsaric condition of our mind and actions. So it's circular, right? I want to avoid perpetuating samsara, so I'm going to do my ethical behavior so that I can quit replanting seeds in my mind that ripen as making me do things that perpetuate samsara. So properly motivated. Why else would we decide to discipline ourselves? Like, I can't imagine being improperly motivated, but we could, I don't know, decide we want to do Vinaya so that so that I can get my nasty neighbor to move away. You know, I might do Vinaya so that I can get that beautiful car that I want so badly and it's going to bring me happiness, right? It would work. But, you know, big deal. You die, the car crashes. Maybe the car crashes with you in it, the car kills you. Like, come on. Our motivation is to stop this vicious cycle. At Vinaya level, it's to stop the vicious cycle for me, for each one of us. My guess is we have seeds for Mahayana, and so our me is sort of, you know, left behind. That old me is left behind because we're out to save everybody. But it's, you know, we want to embrace the recognition that we are a suffering being as well. If you are, and I don't know, I am. So we really won't be able to do what we need to do to change our own behavior in order to become one who can help everybody do that for themselves. If we don't decide that this one needs to learn how to stop samsara, this one's suffering is as bad as anybody else's, and I need to change me to stop this suffering. How we're going to do it is by being less harmful and more kind to others. So we're going to end up in the same place as where we started. Vinaya is about me changing me to change me, and that's okay. Right? We need to start there. Okay? So this class is reviewing Choni Lama's commentary on that Vinaya Sutra in the sense of looking at the outline of his chapters and what his chapters contain so that we can see the big picture of what comes to us from the whole Vinaya Sutra, if that was what we were studying, right? It's big, it's long. We don't study that text directly. We're studying Choni Lama's commentary to it, the one called Yishin Norbu, that we learned about last class. And to get more of us on the screen here. There. Not everybody, but almost. So Yishin Norbu, the wish-fulfilling jewel by Choni Lama, which is a commentary on the Vinaya Sutra, which is an overview of those 4 explanatory sutras, which were Lord Buddha's explanation of Vinaya. His first part, he gives an overview, a preliminary overview of what Vinaya Sutra holds. And in that overview, he starts out with what we would expect, the obeisance, meaning when the translators were instructed that at the beginning of the text that you are going to translate, you, the translator, offer a I bow down to somebody, right? It wasn't in the original text, but the translator puts it in there. And the instruction is who you bow down to tells your reader what the overall subject matter of the text is going to be about. And that system was somehow developed by one of those early Tibetan kings as the Indian tradition was coming to Tibet. And so, you know, we've been hearing it along the way. If you have a text that bows down to Manjushri, it's gonna be focused on wisdom. Mainly emptiness, but emptiness dependent origination. And then if you have a text that bows down to Chenrezi, it's gonna be about love, compassion, right? That kind of thing. This one, we have the obeisance to Shakyamuni Buddha. And it's like, what does that mean? And fortunately, right, we have the commentators, they say that means the subject matter is Vinaya. Because wherever Vinaya is taught or practiced, there Buddha is, meaning Shakyamuni Buddha. Right? The one who was teaching that for his career, right? 50 years of teaching was at least half was Vinaya. And not meaning the first half and then no more, but constantly through his career. In this overview of the book Vinaya Sutra, Choni Lama is showing how Vinaya Sutra is reviewing Lord Buddha's journey from samsaric being to fully enlightened being, which doesn't mean just that one lifetime from Prince Siddhartha to Shakyamuni Buddha. So in that chapter, it talks about how Buddha talked about how in his previous lifetimes, right, he did this and later realized he got this result. They come to us as the Jataka tales. They come to us of the stories about kindnesses that he did and then the result he got from that. It's really stories that are pointing out karma and its consequences in a way that when we're in the midst of our lifetime, we can't see how those specific behaviors bring what specific results because they're not happening one after the other. They're not even probably happening within that lifetime. So Buddha, once omniscient, is connecting the dots. Oh man, that time I was that jerk, right? And I did that, caused all of these lifetimes, right? As a monk losing my robes. And it's like, oh, so I want to teach people what not to do. So they don't have to reinvent the wheel. We learned last course, it took 3 countless eons for Buddha to become Buddha from having generated his bodhicitta. And we learned how long 3 countless eons is. A countless eon, technically a great eon. Countless is the number for 10 to the 60th power, that many years. So long time, like really long time. But it didn't have to take that long. It took that long because he had to figure it out as he went for some reason. So he's wanting to help us cut that time short. Thank you very much. So apparently he had 3 stages of his spiritual life. Again, not meaning Siddhartha's lifetime, this long time. He did what he had to do to reach the first Bodhisattva Bhumi, meaning to reach the direct perception of emptiness with bodhicitta in his heart. Secondly, he then perfected the 6 perfections. So his path of habituation was using the wisdom to do his giving, moral discipline, not getting angry, having a good time, doing all of that, repeating his meditative concentration, using his wisdom, growing his wisdom, right? Meaning planting karmic seeds with wisdom until there are no more seeds that don't have wisdom. Right? All been used up or damaged. Okay, third factor, third level part was reaching that omniscience. So something else has to happen beyond the 6 perfections for the omniscience to arise. We've learned that process along the way, most of us. So Choni Lama's commentary goes through that apparently in greater detail than the Vinaya Sutra text. He does a literature review, says Geshe Michael, of all the sutras that he had access to, at least. And he goes on to establish in this opening section that the whole essence of Buddhism is contained within the Vinaya teachings, which is why the Vinaya teachings stand for Lord Buddha himself. He spends a lot of time in his book at this level. And Geshe-la wondered, why spend so much time? Everybody knows those stories. And Geshe-la's suggestion was he spends so much time because Vinaya is really about karma and its consequences. It's not called that, it's called discipline. And if we didn't have it pointed out to us carefully that what is meant by discipline is learning how to choose our behavior more accurately, we would think, these are restrictions that Buddha imposed upon his disciples because their habit was to misbehave. And so, let's just be strict about our behavior here, guys. So it'll make it easier for everybody to learn what we have to do. But you see, the point is the discipline is the behaviors. It's not just restrictions on us so that we are good monks and nuns. It's the karmic correlations that through which we perpetuate suffering or not. So what do you want to do, really? Do you want to just follow the rules because Buddha said so? Or do you want to understand why the rules are the rules that they are? And they're not actually rules at all. They are guidelines. They are your AAA triptych to Buddha paradise. For those who know what a AAA triptych is. I think there's two of us, Todd and me. And it doesn't matter anyway. It's a map, right? A road map with instructions along the way. Because our karma is unique to us. The principles of karma are universal because of how they're imprinted and ripened. But each one of us is making our own behavior choices that are imprinting into our mind, which will become some experience that we have when those seeds ripen. So the better we understand the principle, the more clearly we will recognize from day-to-day life that we cannot actually see directly how this behavior, what this behavior's seed will bring to us. Because they don't happen from one moment to the next. However, we believe that what I do in the moment brings what comes next. It's almost impossible to live not without that belief. Because you, like, if you impose it on yourself, as you go to grab the door handle to get into the spoons in the drawer, you would just like freeze. It's like, I don't know for sure if doing this will make the drawer open. Like, what if it doesn't? What if I pull it and like the whole wall comes down? It would be scary to actually live in what we're claiming to say, I want to live like that. Right? It won't be scary when we get there. But until we have the karmic goodness to understand what's going on in the moment, there's a part of us that resists. You know, we study so hard, but there's a part that says, don't really want any part of that. So we kind of need to find that part of us and coax it along the way. Okay. So the implication of deeply understanding the relationship between our behavior moment to moment and the circumstances of life in some future moment, the better we understand that, the better we understand that the power for change lies in ourselves and nowhere else. The better we understand that all our habitual blaming them for that, whether good or bad, is mistaken and makes us act in ways that perpetuates that factor of blame. They did that to me. As we become more intellectually aware of, it seems like they did that to me, but my own past behavior is forcing me to have that experience, and I'm done with it. Let those ripen. I'm going to respond in a different way than my automatic pilot. How are we going to figure out how to respond if we can't tell what response will bring what result? We do need to rely on somebody who is an authority on the subject for us, which is why we've done those previous 8 ACI courses, to be giving ourselves the opportunity to figure out whether or not Shakyamuni Buddha and his sutras are authority for us. Because they're not authority in them from them, and they're not authority for everybody. So all of that points out this study of the three levels of reality. Ningyo kokyo shintu kokyo. I don't think this is new for any of us. The ningyo refers to obvious reality, which generally is meant the reality that we as samsaric beings perceive through our sense powers. The things we see, hear, smell, taste, touch are obvious reality. Like, obviously, right? Unless you're blind or deaf or have no sense of smell, like Samanti, have no sense of taste, then things that are obvious reality for me with those things intact are not necessarily obvious reality for the next person. So obvious reality isn't coming from the reality. It's from us. And so we do have obvious reality. Kokyo is hidden reality or subtle reality, which is referring to reality that we don't experience through our sense powers, but can still experience in some way. And this subtle reality, the classical example is emptiness, actually. That emptiness we don't experience through our eyes or ears or nose or tongue or sensation, but it can be experienced. It can be experienced intellectually, and it can be experienced directly. But in this subtle reality way. For the person who's in the direct perception of emptiness, that emptiness is now obvious reality. It's not now being perceived through their sense organs, but it is their direct experience at that moment. So emptiness is not subtle reality in it, because when we're perceiving it directly, now it's obvious reality. And when you come out of it, it's back to subtle reality. You can't just, look at it and see it directly. Then Shinto Kokyo means really hidden reality. And wouldn't you think that if emptiness is ultimate reality, it would be in the category of most deeply hidden reality? Not in the category of just a little subtle. More subtle than the tree is the emptiness of the tree. Shinto Kokyo, deeply hidden reality, refers to those specific karmic correlations, meaning exactly what I did to make that tree be a pine tree with its first branch coming out 10 feet above the ground versus 9 feet above the ground, with that needle being brown and that one being green. all of those details of every moment of experience has specific causes, karmic causes, that my experience of them in that way have specific behaviors of action, speech, thought that made the seeds for that specific way I am experiencing whatever I'm experiencing. And it's like that, those specifics are what's deeply hidden reality. We can come to understand the mechanism, the 4 laws of karma, such that we can make good guesses about what behaviors to avoid and what behaviors to do if we want to create a future experience of this or that. An omniscient being knows the specifics. And, you know, they're so detailed that they really couldn't convey to us exactly, so exactly what do I have to do to make a pine tree with no brown needles ever, so they never drop, so I never have to clean them up, right? What would I have to do? They would have to be whispering in my ear like every moment, because everything I do has some bearing on everything that's ever going to happen to me. It's crazy, complicated, hidden reality for me. But for an omniscient being, it's obvious reality. Like the poor omniscient being, you know, looking at me, oh, Sarani, why do you keep doing that? And I think I'm being so good, you know. It's like they're going, oh, come on, honey. But they don't, they never lose patience, thank goodness. So that's why Buddha spent so much time teaching about karma and its consequences, because it's so deeply hidden that we can't get it. And that's why he ended up just, okay, I'll make it as simple as I can for you. Avoid these 10. Technically at Vinaya level, avoid these 7. That's all you have to do. Well, now, yeah, but you have all these people that are trying to live together, right? So this Vinaya is mainly addressing monastics, people who are on their spiritual path, because they're broken, and so they have mental afflictions, are all living together. They all know the guidelines we're supposed to be living according to. And then our natural habit is to judge you and your behavior way more strongly than I judge me and my behavior. And you know what happens, right? Clashes. So as this was developing in Buddha's time, somebody would do something that caused a big disturbance in the Sangha. And in Buddha's perception, he knew exactly everybody's karmic involvement in all of it. And to help everyone moving forward, he'd make a rule. Okay, no more going out on Friday nights to the bar, because when you come back, you disturb everybody. So nobody can go out on Friday nights anymore, so that we stop disturbing each other's minds. And then everybody agrees. So some of those vowed behaviors seem that specific. And, you know, our independent natures resist. And Buddha says, resist all you want. It's totally up to you, the extent to which you want to follow the Vinaya. And it also determines how long it's going to take before you stop suffering. So it's totally up to you with Vinaya. Nyungyur Kokyur Shinto Kokyur. Next, Choni Lama goes into the actual explanation of the root text. The root text is the Vinaya Sutra by Gunaprabha, not by Lord Buddha, reviewing everything Lord Buddha had to say about Vinaya, because it was scattered all throughout his sutras. It wasn't in just one. So in this actual explanation of the text, there's 4 parts. Here are the 4. Sen Ki Dun, Gyur Ki Chak, Gusok Chu Shinjong, and Dompa Matopa Topje. I hope I got that right. The first one, Sen Ki Dun. It means the meaning of the title. So this is a very short part. It says Vinaya means discipline. Sutra means short book, not words of the Buddha. We've done that already. And Vinaya, he points out, means to learn to control 2 things. What 2 things? Our minds and our sense organs, which seems like a funny thing. Control your ears. Don't hear that bird singing. What? Right? Don't taste that banana. It's not that. It's control our reaction to what we're getting from our sense organs. Okay. Second section, Gyur Ki Chak. It's an explanation of that translator's obeisance. So Choni Lama says, look, in Vinaya Sutra is about Vinaya, which is about karma and its consequences. And that's Shakyamuni Buddha's specialty. And so the obeisance is to Shakyamuni Buddha. Third section is the statement of purpose, the Gusok Chu Shinjang. Gusok means the goal, etc. And Chushi. How'd Shinjang get in there? Wait. My fingers did something weird. Chushi means the 4 the 4 of the purpose, etc. So we've learned that elsewhere. A text should tell you at the beginning its purpose and the fact that it's authentic and the fact that people have used it, and show you that if you use it, it will work as well. Those 4 factors that show us that the book is worth our time. And then in this system, you know, back early, you the practitioner would not own the book. That you'd have access to it, I guess, for a little while. And you would memorize it. And then your use of that book would be, you know, to review some part that you've memorized and think about it and work with it. Like we have the book we can sit down and read and reread. So these books were designed to develop a relationship with, like use them as training tools versus you read it once and put it away. You find the book that you're going to use for your whole lifetime of spiritual practice. You memorize it and then you revisit again and again and again. So if we're going to spend that kind of time with a textbook, we want to know it's going to deliver, right? What if you spend 20 years on memorizing, I don't know, and using some text, and then in the end, it's like, wait a minute, that's just going to teach me how to water ski better. I wasted all that time. So, Gusok Chushi. The next section, Domba Matopa Topje. That's the actual, it's the third no. 1, 2, 3. Sorry. It's the actual commentary to the text. And it has 3 parts to it that I don't have the Tibetan for. Aren't we relieved? And in this part of the text, it goes into how to get vows of a pure lineage, how to ask for them properly, who you ask for them from, their qualifications, what you do to ask for them, what will happen in the ceremony, how you know whether you got them or not, how you prepare yourself for the ceremony, how you use them afterwards. So it's very detailed about the process of what it is to get our Vinaya practice going so that we get off on a good start. We have ceremonies that we do. In Buddha's time, apparently, when someone was attracted to them as a teacher and what he was teaching, Buddha might suddenly turn to them and say, oh, Ross, it's time. And if Ross goes, yeah, it's time, Buddha just goes, bing. And, suddenly you're shaven and suddenly you're wearing robes and suddenly you've left the home life. And it's like, wow, thank you so much. Nowadays, it doesn't happen like that. Nowadays, if we're inclined to leave the home life, we don't get to learn the actual vows that we'll take, but we can see by other ordained people's behaviors what it might be like. Right? We go through a process of preparing ourselves, requesting properly, receiving properly, etc. So this is all outlined in this text. It includes details of who can and who cannot confer those vows on us, our Vinaya vows. And we'll learn many of the specifics. What Geshe-la pointed out here are these words that we've probably heard and have used, but maybe we weren't so clear on what they meant. So this term Kempo, it's a Tibetan word, it means abbot. The abbot is the person in charge of the monastery, the head, the total head. And they change persons in the monastery, I don't know how many years. And then at least in the Sarah May monastery, the abbot gets requested to be abbot by the Dalai Lama. And, you have to have a pretty good argument to say no to the Dalai Lama. And then he has his reasons for choosing you. But it's not a forever thing. But it's a really, really high, important position. You're in charge of everybody. Kenshur means ex-abbot. Finished your stint. Ken Rinpoche means precious abbot. So we use the term Ken Rinpoche for Geshe Lobsang Tarchen, who was the abbot of that Mongolian monastery in New Jersey for all those years, 30, 40 years. He was also abbot of Saramay for a short period of time. So he was both Kensur of Saramay, but still abbot of the Mongolian temple when he passed. Everybody called him Precious Abbot, Ken Rinpoche. But do you see, somebody else's abbot is also going to be Ken Rinpoche to them. So somebody outside of our tradition talks about Ken Rinpoche. They're talking about somebody else probably than ours. Then the last term to be more clear about is this term Lopan. Lopan means master, meaning someone with mastery, over whatever it is that they are being used the Lopan term for, right? So someone who's mastered Qigong would be a Lopan of Qigong, but maybe they don't play tennis at all, so they're not a Lopan of tennis. So you'll see this term as well. In Vinaya, it's the Kempo that grants the ordination vows, the highest guy. So, like, even if you want to get your ordination vows from this one, it's like, sorry, it has to go up the ladder and come from the highest one. Why, I don't know. I'm going to guess it has something to do with the karmic seeds being planted as we see ourselves getting the vows from them. You want the highest karmic object. In this context, the Lopam is the person who's helping the abbot in the vow giving ceremony. So there'll be somebody who makes sure that the altar is set up right, who makes sure that you've got the proper number of other monks and nuns present, who makes sure, right, that the vow taker is in the proper position. They're more like, the manager. And in that situation, they're called the Lopon. Right? So when you're the second in charge of a ceremony, you are the Lopon. Okay, so it has a little different connotation than ordinary. All right. So in this section, the text also goes into the 8 different kinds of pratimoksha vows. So we'll learn those 8. We don't learn the specifics of the vows, particularly for the ordained vows, because you're not allowed to know what those vows are before you take them. But there's a secret. If you go to an ordination ceremony, they recite them in the ceremony. So you can hear what they are if you just pay attention and they're speaking your language. And that's how one might get to thinking, whoa, well, wait a minute. I could live like that. And then we might be inclined, right, to start that path to taking ordination, if that was your inclination, right? It's not, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not the right thing for everybody. The more vows we have that we can keep, the more powerful our practice. But it does not mean that you can't make progress on your path without being ordained. No. Right. All right. This part of the text also goes into a deep and detailed explanation of how to measure time. And we won't study it because it's complicated. And we now have clocks. So we don't need this detailed way of measuring time. But the reason it comes up here is that it's important to mark exactly the time, day and time that one receives their vows. And mainly it's because there's part of the vows are about showing respect for your elders. And elders in the context of Vinaya has nothing to do with age. It has to do with how long you've had your vows. So you could go and get your ordained vows when you're 95 years old. And the 25-year-old who got their vows the day before you, they are senior to you. And so your interaction with them is included. That factor is included. Do you see? So we need to know. We need to know when we get our vows so that we can get ourselves in the right pecking order. It feels weird. And it feels, I don't know, my own judgment is, come on, is that really so necessary? But do you know why I have that judgment? Because I can't see the subtle workings of karma. Oh, yeah. Okay, so the next part, let's take our break. I yacked through the break again. So sorry. I'm going to stop share. I have to move you down. Stop share. Pause recording. I'm pausing. Okay, mine too.
Dear Lama, I think Ainur is tired. She was translating before. I see in the chat she's asking to change her. I can translate
You want to
the
take
rest
over?
of the class. Yeah, I can take it.
Okay. All right. So let's see. What do I do here? Thanks, Senor. Manage language interpretation. Shiva, yes. Update. Did I get it? Okay. All right then. Back to our vocabulary. The next section in the text is dopaminyampa. It means once you've gotten your vows, dopa, minyampa, how do you not break them? So important chapter here. Once you have your vows, how do you protect them? And we'll study it. It gives lots of different advices to how to keep from damaging our vows once we've got them. There are 4 parts to this section. The first part is about how to rely upon an outer support. An outer support means like a mentor. We're instructed to take up a relationship with someone who's ahead of us on the path, who we admire, who we trust. And we formally ask them to be our Nelama, it's called. Ne means crucial point. It means place. Here it means this one, right? I will go to this one for help. Because the abbot, or the one who gave you your vows, is the abbot of the monastery. You can't go to them. So you take this relationship with this specific mentor. Apparently, traditionally, someone who gets their vows newly, I'm not sure at what level, I guess any level, you're expected to take this Ne Lama relationship for your first 10 years of having your vows. Like, it seems like a really long time. And you go to that Ne Lama, right, for advice, for instruction, for, any situation you're having trouble with. They're the one you go to, what seeds do I have for this? What seeds do I need to make, right? Amongst other stuff. Second part is relying on inner support. Inner support means the motivation that we had when we took our vows, whatever that was. Our inner support reliance is to keep calling that to mind, because that's what keeps our motivation strong to do what we have to do to avoid the behaviors that the vows are instructing us to avoid. It's the motivation that got us started. We revisit it. Third part of our Topa Mi Nyampa is learning about other factors that work against keeping our vows. It means how we know when our vows are damaged, how we know when they're fully broken, what to do when we've damaged them, what to do if we've broken them, all those details. Within that section also is what to do if we have vows that seem to conflict with each other. So we'll have individual freedom vows, either 5 lifetime lay vows or some level of ordained vows. And then later we go on to bodhisattva vows. And then maybe later we go on to diamond way vows. And we learn how to prioritize those vows. And some of them, it seems like if I keep my bodhisattva vows, I break my pratimoksha vow. What do I do? Of course, there's a way to keep both of them better. And so we learn this prioritization factor, and we'll learn a little bit about it. And then the fourth part of this, what to do, how I keep from breaking my vows, is the section that describes these three, well, it describes 17 specific ways of being a monastic. And 3 of those 17 are specified here. We don't get to go into all 17 because they are monastic. But we hear about sojong, which is the practice of twice a month, ordained people gathering together to do their confession. So they're not doing their 4 powers only twice a month, right? But they do this specific confession ceremony together to clean up their vows on the full moon and the new moon of every month. It's one of the rituals of being an ordained person. Then Yarne and Gaye, not Galye, but Gaye. Yarne is the practice of summer retreat. So in Lord Buddha's time, in the summer was monsoons, and during monsoons there were zillions more bugs than during non-monsoon season. And in order to protect the monks from killing all those bugs when they walked around, they would all go into summer retreat. So 3 months of retreat where they mainly studied, memorized, and meditated. And they spent very little time out walking around to protect life. And then Gaye was the release of summer retreat. After that period of time, you got 3 weeks to celebrate, 3 weeks to play. And you get to play games and listen to music and sing and dance and go to the movies and throw flower petals in the air. Like that's the wildest thing you could do back then. For 3 weeks, you let loose. And then you go back to school, right? So we get it, right? Spring break, Christmas holiday, like that. Then we get a section on how to restore our vows once we've damaged them, because we're gonna damage them, because we are broken. We have mental afflictions. We react to our mental afflictions, and then, oh, whoops, okay. We fix them. Then the 4th section in the text is called ancillary points. And in the ancillary points are these specifics about how and where to construct a monastery. And within those instructions, include a specific instruction by Lord Buddha that says, and put a painting of the wheel of life at the entrance to your monastery. So every monastery should have this painting of the wheel of life. Typically, it's a tonka. Diamond Mountain has that big one. And in this section of the Vinaya Sutra, which is a summary of everything, of the things that Buddha taught about the Vinaya, he shares that Lord Buddha said specifically, you must have that wheel of life for your monastery to be a proper monastery. If we know how to read it, it teaches how all of our suffering is created and how it can be stopped. Like all of it in that one painting. Chone Lama also gives us one of the various versions of where the painting of the wheel of life originally came from, like how it was instigated to be created. One of those stories is that Buddha had a disciple, a man who was inclined to leave the home life, but his wife was exceptionally beautiful. And he had this exceptionally strong attraction to his beautiful wife, and he was waffling spiritual life, beautiful way. And Buddha said, let me see if I can help you. And he takes him on a trip to the different realms of the desire realm. He shows him the hell realms, hungry ghost realms, everything that we just studied in course 8. And when they get back, the guy's going, I'm ready. But Buddha says, look, draw what you just saw. And what comes out of it is the tanka that we call the wheel of life, tanka. It has 7 components. The Vinaya Sutra lays out these 7 components that are supposed to be in that painting. He gives us the quote from Buddha's teachings, Gokang du Gorwe Korlo O Chanapar Ja O. This is saying, in the foyer, that the samsara's wheel, Korwe Korlo, the wheel of samsara. Cha nampar ja o, make it with 5 parts. Put the 5-part wheel of life painting in the foyer of your temple. Here are the 5 parts. Chana means 5 parts. The center of the 5-part is these 5 spokes section, of which in some tankas there are 6. So I have my tanka. I'm going to see if I can show it to you. And you know what? Let me just read these Tibetan words, and then I'm going to get rid of my screen share. Okay. So Chan Na is the 5 parts, but here the 5 parts is the desire, or the 5 parts of the desire realm. Then there's a section of Bardoa, the beings in between. Then there's a section Duk Sum, which is the 3 poisons. Then there's a section Yanlakchini, which is the 12 links, the 12 links of dependent origination. And then finally, there's the Tamche Mitakpa. I left out half of it. Nikisum. Put the whole thing in the clutches of impermanence. I'll describe what these mean in a minute. 6th factor is Dawa. It means the moon. And then the 7th is Tsikche, which means add the 2 verses. All right, so now that you've heard that, I'm going to get rid of my screen share. And I'm going to, how do I do this? If I put me, like me isolated, does that isolate me for all of you? If I make me big, does everybody see me big? No? Yes, no, some
Yes,
do.
you have to pin yourself or spotlight it.
Pin myself.
If you've got to your picture and then there are 3 dots on the upper corner, it should say something like ping or spotlight.
Oh, sorry. No, I don't have any such thing.
I am in my phone, so I don't remember how exactly appears in the laptop.
Here, I got
I
it.
think you,
Yeah, I got it. Thanks. Right? Now am I big? Okay.
do you all see her? Okay.
Okay, so here's the whole tanka. Can we see it? Here's the verses at the bottom. They're in Tibetan, so it doesn't matter whether you can see them or not. They're in Tibetan script, so it really doesn't matter if I can see them or not. So let's start from the first thing he said. Put the five spokes. These are the 5 spokes. Do you see? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It is 5 on this one. Each one of those spokes is a depiction of one of the different samsaric desire realms. Hell beings, hungry ghosts, animals, humans, pleasure beings that have pleasure beings and jealous gods. That's this one up here. The beings and their suffering. Then the hub inside is the bardo beings. They're often called zuke. Zuke, if you remember, is the term for miraculously born, but in the sense of born complete, not born as a baby who has to grow up. Another term for bardo is born complete. You end this life, you enter bardo, instant. So of the bardo beings, some are heads up and some are heads down. Can you see that? So they're intentionally looking like a chain. There are some beings who in bardo are headed up, meaning to higher birth, and some who are headed down, meaning lower birth, technically lower than the one they just left. But we relate to this mostly as humans, although it's true of all these different realms. So the hub, in the center, the axle, is the 3 poisons, Duksum. So can I get it close enough? Can you see what's in there? It looks like a bird at the top, and it looks like a snake below the bird. And I don't know, it looks to me like a dog below that, but it's supposed to be the pig. And if you look closely, the tail of the snake and the tail of the bird are coming out of the mouth of the pig. In some versions, those 3 animals, they're biting the tail of the one ahead of them, and they're done in a circle. Technically, these 3 poisons are qualities of our minds at any given moment. The bird represents the pigeon or the rooster. That represents our ignorant liking, our desire, and how our desire for things that have their pleasureness in them drives what we do to get those things that are the cause of our pleasure. Anything we do to get them is mistaken as long as we believe that the pleasure they seem to bring to us is coming from them. Ignorant liking, Geshe uses the term, because desire feels like, I don't have desire. Like, I'm just an old lady. I don't have that kind of thing anymore. But that's not what we're talking about. I do have desire for another sip of green tea because that pleasure comes from the green tea, doesn't it? Then ignorant dislike is the snake. I guess snakes are angry all the time. I don't know, you know, I met a baby rattlesnake recently and I had to call the fire department. I tried to let it go wait for a week, but it wouldn't go anywhere. And when they came to get it, they were saying, man, this is the most docile snake. You know, I think it was so hungry it was half dead, but it wasn't angry. It didn't rattle, it didn't coil. But anyway, traditionally, a snake represents ignorant dislike, which, you know, at its full on is the willingness to harm somebody to avoid them as the cause of something unpleasant for me. Ignorant dislike. But what's common to them is the ignorance, which is the belief that the pleasantness or unpleasantness is their fault, not a result of my own past similar behavior done towards somebody else. You know the story. So the pig represents the misunderstanding, the ignorance, and it's really out of the pig's mouth comes these other two, which means if you transform that pig, the other two will get transformed. No, we can't get to the pig until we work with the other two. But technically, it's the pig we're after. All right, the hub. This is what spins the wheel, we know. Then the outer ring. Like if this thing was a turning wheel, this is what's hitting the pavement. So it's really what's turning the thing. This is those 12 links of dependent origination. How it is that our behavior plants the seeds that goes on to force us to the end of this life and the taking on another one. So technically these 12 links are talking about how we came into this life, what we're doing in this life, how it's going to end, and how it's going to turn into another samsaric rebirth. If we knew how to read these, it would reveal how these different realms are created. And it will reveal how it is that we are either going up or going down at the end of life. And its key is the pig in the middle. In the mixed nuts, Sugen's text was those details of the 12 links of dependent origination in great detail. ACI does not have a course or a practice module of the 12 links of dependent origination, but Geshe has given that weekend teaching that Smati and I have also given. So it is there's a short version explanation that is available. You can find it online for Geshe. But it's so much more intricate and involved than what can be conveyed in just those few classes. So then all of that says Lord Buddha, paint it in the clutches of impermanence. We learned last course that the impermanence that we need to realize is my own impermanence. My death is certain. The time of my death is uncertain. When I die, nothing but my spiritual life can help me, because it tells me what seeds to plant and what seeds not to plant, and what to purify of what I've already planted, and what to rejoice about of what I've already planted. Those 3 principles of death meditation and all that they imply are depicted by this creature, the Lord of Death. He's holding this whole system in his clutches. And if you notice, his feet are not on the ground. He's hanging out in empty space, which means he's vulnerable, right? We can stop the Lord of Death if we can jab a hook somewhere in here, right? We know it needs to be jabbed up here. We can stop the whole process. And he just will let go. Then Buddha says, show the Buddha outside the wheel of life. Because Buddha is not inside samsara. Even when Shakyamuni was walking around amongst us, he was not in samsara, right? He was not projecting samsara. He was aware of ours. So showing that where we're going, where we're aspiring to go, is outside this cycle. And the Buddha is pointing to the moon over here. There's a beautiful moon that is, the moon is used a lot metaphorically in our teachings. And it typically stands for the compassion side of our practice, versus the sun is the wisdom side. So there was some other class we were doing where the basis of the whole start of our spiritual life is compassion. Here it is. Then lastly, he says, write this verse on that tanka that everybody can read. And now I have to put it down. So excuse me. The verse says, take it up and give it up. Enter the teachings of the Buddha. Smash the Lord of Death like an elephant smashes a reed hut. What it means is take up practice. What practice? Avoiding harming others. And give it up. Give up what? Samsara. Perpetuating samsara. Like if we could just do it by deciding to do it, how much easier it would be. But if we don't decide to do it, we aren't ever going to do it. So we need to make our decision eventually. Enter the teachings of the Buddha, which, technically you don't have to become a card-carrying Buddhist. The teachings of the Buddha are the teachings of profound dependence. How it is that our behavior is the power through which we create our future. Learning that, it doesn't matter whether you call yourself Buddhist or not, is what he's talking about here. Then smash the Lord of Death like the result of our practice will be Lord of Death gets smashed as easily as an elephant walking across a reed hut. It doesn't take the elephant any effort at all for that reed hut to just become a reed mat. So the reason all of that is in our Vinaya text is because, as I say, if we know how to read this, like this is the only tool you need, hanging in your little meditation hut, to inspire ourselves and to follow the behaviors necessary. But to read it means much more than what we've just gone through, of course. The training that we receive from ACI Foundation all the way through is what we understand from reading this tanka. So the better we understand our ACI training, the more information we get out of this thing, if we bother to look at it, right, anymore. You know, it hangs on our living room wall, and I see it every day, multiple times a day. But you know how it goes, right? It's just like, oh, there it is. And I miss opportunities every single time I do that. So there's one more part in the Vinaya Sutra that Choni Lama points out, and that is its concluding remarks, which is notes upon the circumstances in which Gunaprabha wrote his Vinaya Sutra. And then Choni Lama adds to it notes about the circumstances in which he wrote his commentary to the Vinaya Sutra. It's a common ending to a text that helps lend authenticity to it, that we understand how it came about, how it came to be. All right. That completes our class 2 on Vinaya. So we have a stronger background as to why we are studying it and what we will study. Next class, we will go into the individual freedom vows, what they mean, what they are, what we do with them. So remember that person we wanted to be able to help at the beginning of class? We have learned a lot that we will use sooner or later to help them in that deep and ultimate way. And that's a great, great goodness. So please be happy with yourself. And think of this goodness like a beautiful glowing gemstone that you can hold in your hands. Recall your own precious holy guide. See how happy they are with you. Feel your gratitude to them, your reliance upon them. Ask them to please stay close, to continue to guide you, help you, inspire you. And then offer them this gemstone of goodness. See them accept it and bless it. And they carry it with them right back into your heart. See them there, feel them there. Their love, their compassion, their wisdom. It feels so good, we want to keep it forever. And so we know to share it by the power of the goodness that we've just done. May all beings complete the collection of merit and wisdom, and thus gain the 2 ultimate bodies that merit and wisdom make. So use those 3 long exhales to share this goodness with that one person. To share it with everyone you love. To share it with every existing being everywhere. Every single one, whether you like them or not. See them all filled with happiness, filled with loving kindness, filled with wisdom. And may it be so. All right, not stopped. Yeah.